Welcome to episode 1 of Food for Thought Thursdays. Today we're going to talk about forgiveness. I know that joint is hard and don't nobody want to do it. Rick Ross is one of my favorite rappers. He said something so slick. He said, God forgives, I don't. I was like, that's real. I sure am glad Rick Ross ain't God. No, but for real though, think about it. How many of us have that same exact thought process? God forgives, I don't. And I thank God for being a forgiving God, because sometimes it's really hard for me to forgive. And sometimes it's not only just for me to forgive other people, but for me to forgive myself. Right? If you're with me, you're with me. So I had this thought the other day. I was walking through the airport and I had my mask on. And I'm going to be honest with you, I took a super early flight and I didn't brush my teeth yet. It is what it is. I had my mask on. I went from the house. It is what it is. I knew I was going to have my mask on, so I figured I could get to the airport, have my mask on, won't be tripping, I could brush my teeth there, and I'll be okay. As I was walking through the airport, I started to talk to people. And I realized when I was talking to the other people, they may not have been able to smell my breath, but I could. So I was talking, and I was like, whew, that joker was bad. All along, I thought I was going to be saving other people, but I was just hurting myself. Yo, that's when it hit me. The lack of forgiveness and the lack of forgiving other people is like wearing a mask without brushing your teeth. You think you're saving other people, but you're really just hurting yourself. Man. When that hit me in that way, I realized that forgiveness is a gift. And it's not just a gift for other people, it's a gift for yourself. And the reason why forgiveness is a gift for yourself, because when you're hoarding something in, whether it's a lack of forgiveness for yourself, it's a lack of forgiveness for somebody else, it ultimately hurts you more than it hurts them. Some people have used the analogy of not forgiving other people is like drinking poison and hoping it'll hurt the other person. I think that that's a very similar concept, but I wanted to use a real life example. And especially because we're in a pandemic and we're all walking around wearing masks, having to smell our own breath all day. And in this situation, I just didn't happen to brush mine. First time for everything, right? First and last time experience. So when you think about not wanting to forgive somebody else, try not brushing your teeth, throwing on your mask, and seeing what that impact is like. You throw your mask on, it's like throwing a mask over your heart and saying, I'm not going to forgive that person because they did this to me. I'm not going to forgive myself because I should know this by now. And all you're doing is everything is staying with inside your mask the same way it'll stay inside your heart. And all you're really doing is hurting yourself. When what you could really do is take your mask off, go to the bathroom and brush your teeth, or take your mask off and have the conversation with yourself and say, why don't I want to forgive this person? Or what is the lack of forgiveness for this person really doing to me? What is the lack of forgiveness that I'm not giving myself doing to me? Because what matters is your health. What matters is your internal well-being. Whether you let that person know you forgive them or not, it's important for you to know in your heart that you forgive them and that you forgive yourself. Because you got to know you're only hurting yourself when you harbor a heart that is hard. But then what happens from there is it ends up permeating through your body and impacting those around you. It's going to come out through your attitude. It's going to come out through your behaviors. It's going to come out through the way you interact with other people. So contrary to popular belief, it's not just going to stay inside. It's going to eventually come out. And then that can impact your relationships. It can impact your future relationships. It can impact the way that you treat the people that you're in relationship with right now. And they might say, I can't fool with you. Your heart is too hard. You might damage future blessings because you're not willing to forgive things that happened in your past. And so all I'm asking you to do is take the mask off, brush your teeth, and figure out who is it that you need to forgive so that way you don't need to suffer from not only bad breath, but you don't need to suffer from the lack of forgiveness that you may be holding from yourself and from somebody else. Because when you really think about it, the main thing that keeps us from forgiving ourselves and others is pride. It's really just pride that says, no, I'm good. They hurt me. I'm not doing that. So you might want to have a conversation with your pride and address your ego. Because all our ego is something that wants to protect us. So when your ego rises up to protect you, you have to have that conversation and say, why don't we want to do this? Have the conversation with your ego. Have the conversation with your pride and figure out how much longer are you going to harbor those feelings towards somebody else or towards yourself that's going to prevent you from being able to fully move forward to live out your purpose. So here's an action step that I have for you. Think about who it is that you need to forgive. And if it's yourself, journal some of the reasons why you might need to forgive yourself. We started a brand new year. This is a great time for you to be able to do that. Have the conversation with yourself. Who do you need to forgive and why? And I'm not saying that this is going to be something easy. I'm not saying this is even something you should do alone. And if you're in a counseling, I encourage you to have that conversation there. But if you're not at that step yet, have the conversation with yourself. And if you're not actually ready to forgive that person and you start the journaling process of it, you'll be able to reveal to yourself, why is it that I feel this way towards a situation? And also, why is it so hard for me to extend this gift to that other person, which ultimately is going to be a gift for yourself? And then the last question I want you to ask yourself is, how long can you deal with that stanky breath? The truth of the matter is this. You can walk around with the mask on your face, or you can walk around with the mask on over your heart, but eventually the pandemic will be over and you'll have to take your mask off. And the ramifications of living with a hard heart and stanky breath will ultimately leave you without the ability to contribute to develop healthy relationships. The same way that if your breath stunk and you were talking to your friends with or without a mask, it is the same way that if you had a hard heart and you're trying to develop healthy relationships, it just won't work. So address the situation, take it one step at a time, extend the gift of forgiveness first to yourself, and then extend it to others. Because I promise you there's freedom on the other side of it, and it's the best gift that you can give yourself and that you can give to others. And the best thing about forgiving other people is you don't even have to tell them. All you got to do is acknowledge it within yourself and allow your heart to do the healing. You don't even have to let them know, nor do you even have to fool with them again. That's up to you to decide whether you want to forgive and rekindle that relationship. But I highly encourage boundaries in this situation as well. Boundaries with yourself and boundaries with others. But that's for another episode. So today, remember, don't not brush your teeth and put your mask on because you're only hurting yourself. Number 2, forgiveness is a gift that keeps on giving. Whether you give it to other people or you're giving it to yourself, it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the process. Number 3, you don't need to tell other people that you forgive them. If you cut off a relationship, it's the most important thing is to make sure that your heart knows that you've forgiven that person and you're giving yourself permission to move forward with your healing. Number 4, address the ego and the pride in the situation. Have the conversation with your ego. Have the conversation with your pride about how you're feeling over that specific topic. And number 5, remember, you're worthy of forgiveness, you're worthy of healing, and you're worthy of having healthy relationships. Food for Thought Thursdays. I'm Coach Reese. I'm out.